Wait, what? I whispered. Ava was already refreshing the page. Another post had gone up. Caroline H. lied about her sister stealing and drinking. I know because she told me. Thought it was funny. I have texts. Guess it wasn't so funny when people started finding out. There it was. Proof. Or at least, the threat of it. I stared at the screen like it might combust. Holy shit, I breathed. Ava grinned like Christmas had come early. I told you karma was real. I couldn't figure out what stunned me more, that someone exposed her or that they were doing it now, months later. And in public. Over the next 24 hours, the confessions page exploded. Someone, anonymous but clearly close to Caroline, started posting actual screenshots. Texts where she admitted to fabricating the story to get that freak out of the house. There were even messages between her and friends where she bragged about how easy it was to convince my parents. My name wasn't mentioned directly, but anyone who knew us? Knew. By noon the next day, the posts were being shared on Facebook. Parents were gossiping. Teachers were commenting and yikes under threads. Even people I barely talked to were tagging me or messaging me things like, "I'm so sorry I believed her." And then my phone rang. My mom. I stared at the screen like it was a rattlesnake. She called again an hour later. Then she texted. "Please call me. We need to talk." I showed Ava. Her only response was, "Do you want to?" Did I? After everything? I didn't know yet what I wanted. But I knew one thing, Caroline's Golden Girl act had shattered. And the world was seeing the truth one piece at a time. And now they were the ones on the outside, looking in. I didn't respond to the first text. Or the second. Or the 3 missed calls that came in overnight. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. But something about their silence all those months and then suddenly blowing up my phone now felt hollow. Like they weren't sorry, just sorry they'd been exposed. By the 3rd day, Ava and I were at the bookstore when the bell over the door rang and in walked my mom. I froze mid-sentence. Darla, who was restocking a shelf nearby, clocked the tension immediately. She didn't say a word, just gave me a subtle nod like, "You want me to kick her out? Just say the word." But I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. My mom looked older. Tired. Not physically, but in the way someone looks when they've finally been forced to sit with a truth they didn't want to believe. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice low. Nervous. I stepped outside with her, arms crossed, heart thudding. We stood in the alley behind the store, the scent of musty paper and old rain around us. She took a breath. I didn't know what to believe. Caroline, she was always dramatic, but I never thought she would lie like that. I didn't say anything. She admitted it, she went on. Not because she wanted to, but because people started sending us screenshots. Her friends turned on her. "Your dad's been, well, we've both been embarrassed?" I snapped. Her face fell. Ashamed. Heartbroken. Guilty. Guilty now? I laughed bitterly. "You kicked me out without even asking for my side." "I know," she said quickly, voice cracking. "I know we failed you. God, we were so stupid. And she was so convincing and you were so distant and—" "Because she was like this all the time," I said. "And you never saw it. Or didn't want to." She looked like I'd punched her. Then came the moment I never thought would happen. She started crying. Right there in the alley behind a dusty bookstore. "I don't expect you to forgive us," she said, wiping her eyes. "But we want to. We need to make things right." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel anger. I felt tired. Tired of carrying it. Tired of pretending I didn't still want parents who loved me. But wanting something and trusting again? Those were very different things. "We'll see," I said quietly. She nodded like she understood more than she let on. Then, as she turned to go, she hesitated. "You know, your dad's been watching all your posts. He saw your grant. He said she's doing better than any of us now." I didn't know how to respond. So I said nothing. Just let the wind carry her words away as she walked back to her car. I went back inside. Darla didn't ask questions. She just handed me a hot chocolate and said, "That looked awful. Drink." I did. But I also knew something had changed. The balance of power was shifting. They weren't holding the pen anymore. I was. It didn't take long for word to spread beyond just our town. Caroline had built her identity around being this golden child, honor student, community volunteer, leadership roles, early admission hopeful. Everything curated. Everything fake. And then the receipts hit. The anonymous leaker eventually revealed herself as Caroline's former best friend, Jamie. Apparently, Caroline had thrown her under the bus months earlier over some cheating scandal, and Jamie had been sitting on the receipts ever since. Just waiting. Patient. And when she finally dropped them, everything came crashing down. Her college revoked her early admission offer. Clubs asked her to step down pending review. She stopped posting on Instagram, which, if you knew Caroline, was basically a cry for help. I thought I'd feel triumphant, like justice had been served. But mostly, I felt weird. Not exactly bad, but not satisfied either. That's when something truly unexpected happened. I got a DM from Caroline. I know you probably hate me. You have every reason to. But if you're willing to talk, I just want to say what I should have said months ago. I stared at the screen for a full 10 minutes. Ava walked in and saw my expression. Is that her? She asked. I nodded. She wants to meet. She gave me the most absolutely not look I've ever seen. You don't owe her anything. She was right. I didn't. But something in me was curious. Not out of pity. Not for closure, even. Just clarity. So I agreed to meet her. In public. Daylight. Middle of the park. I told Ava where I was going and shared my location like I was preparing for a stakeout. When I saw Caroline sitting there on a bench, she looked nothing like the version of her that used to flip her hair and roll her eyes at me over dinner. Her face was blotchy. Her hair was up in this messy bun that actually looked human for once. No makeup. Just her. She didn't try to hug me. Just said, hey, and stared at the ground. Then she started talking. I don't know why I did it. That's not true, I do. I was jealous. You were always so quiet and everyone thought you were nothing. But you were smart. You got things. You never needed attention to be good. And She trailed off. Then she looked at me. I thought if I made you look worse, I'd look better. I didn't say anything. She took a deep breath. I ruined your life. And I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to admit it to your face. There was a long silence. And then, without meaning to, I said, you didn't ruin my life. You just made me start it earlier than I should have had to. She blinked. That's worse. I shrugged. Maybe. But I'm not where you left me. She nodded, her throat working hard to swallow something unspoken. Then, almost whispering, if I ever wanted to try to fix anything, is it too late? That question hit harder than I expected. Was it too late? I didn't know. But what I did know, maybe for the first time, was that I had the power now. And I wasn't going to give it away lightly. I stared at Caroline for what felt like a century. The question hung in the air, heavy and thick. Was it too late? I wanted to say something sharp, something that would push her away, something that would make her feel even a fraction of what I felt those months ago. But then I realized, what good would it do? I'd spent months burning with anger, waiting for an apology that would never come, and now here she was, asking for a chance to make it right. I exhaled sharply. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said finally, my voice quieter than I expected. But I'm not going to keep hating you either. She nodded slowly, like that was more than she deserved. Fair enough. We sat there for a while in uncomfortable silence. I could hear children laughing nearby and the distant hum of cars, but neither of us moved. Neither of us knew what to say next. I've been thinking, Caroline said, breaking the quiet. About what you said about how you started your life earlier than you should have. You're right. I never realized how much you were doing while I was over here playing at being perfect. Maybe I needed to fall. To see what real struggle looked like. I turned toward her. There was something about her tone, genuine, almost like she was looking for answers in herself. What had happened to my sister? Well, the world doesn't let you ignore it for long, I said dryly. Maybe now you'll see that. She winced but didn't respond. Then, to my surprise, she said, I'm working on getting back into college. On my own terms. No one is going to help me. But I don't know how to do it. How did you keep going after everything? It took me a second to register what she was saying. My sister asking me for advice? I just kept moving, I replied simply. You just take it one thing at a time. Find something worth fighting for and don't stop. Her lips twitched into the slightest smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'll try that. Maybe it'll work. I didn't know if it would. Part of me wanted to tell her that she couldn't fix everything with a few kind words and a fresh start. But I didn't. Maybe I wanted her to figure it out for herself, just like I did. Before I stood up to leave, she said, If you ever feel like you want to talk again, I'll be here. I hesitated. It was so different from the old Caroline, the one who wouldn't even glance at me unless she had something to gain. Now she was offering me nothing but a shot at reconciliation. I didn't know if I could trust it, but at least it wasn't a manipulative gesture. I stood up, brushing the dirt from my jeans. I'll think about it. And with that, I walked away, back toward my future, one step at a time. The weeks after meeting Caroline felt like walking through a fog. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to feel better or worse, or if I was just supposed to feel something at all. A part of me had expected some grand moment of catharsis. A sudden clarity where everything would click into place, where I'd be able to move on from all the damage she'd caused. But it didn't work like that. Instead, I buried myself deeper in work, schoolwork, the bookstore, and everything else that came with finally owning my life. I used every spare second to study for my classes, knowing this was my chance to make a real future for myself. I'd made it this far, and I wasn't about to let anything or anyone derail me now. But there were moments when the bookstore was quiet or when I was alone in my room late at night that I would think back to that conversation with Caroline in the park. Her words echoed in my mind. "I'll try that. Maybe it'll work." And in the strangest way, I found myself hoping she meant it. Maybe she'd turn herself around. Maybe she'd find a way to become the person I'd always hoped she could be. But the truth? I didn't have to carry that weight anymore. I was in control now. It was up to her to make her own choices, just like it was up to me to make mine. Then, one Friday afternoon, something unexpected happened. I was walking home from the bookstore, my backpack heavy with books and papers, when I saw a familiar car parked outside the coffee shop near my apartment. It was my mom's SUV again. I froze. She was sitting there, alone this time, staring at her phone. She didn't see me at first, so I had a few moments to decide if I should keep walking past, pretend I didn't notice, or if I should actually go over there and see what she wanted. I didn't need more drama in my life, but I didn't know how long I could keep avoiding them either. The thing about family, you can't just cut them off completely. At least I couldn't, so I walked up to the car. She glanced up, startled, and her face softened instantly. "Hey," she said, her voice tentative. I nodded, feeling both irritated and relieved at the same time. "Hi." She opened the door, but I shook my head. "I've got a minute." "What's up?" "I just wanted to talk," she said, swallowing hard. "About everything. About us." I crossed my arms, unsure of what to say. I don't know what's left to say. I know, but I want to try, really try, to make it right. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. I don't even know if I deserve it. But I'm here. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't say anything for a long moment. My mind was spinning. I'd never imagined this. Her coming to me, apologizing first, after everything. "I'm not the same person you think I am," she added quietly. "I'm just trying to figure out how to be a better mother to you, a better parent in general. And I can't do it alone." I could feel the vulnerability in her voice. It hit me harder than I expected. For a split second, I wanted to throw my arms around her, tell her I missed her, and that I wanted things to be the way they were before everything fell apart. But the reality was there was no going back to what we were, and I couldn't just pretend the past never happened. Instead, I said, "I don't need you to fix everything. I just need you to be real with me. No more lies. No more pretending." She nodded, tears starting to form in her eyes. "I can do that. I promise." It wasn't a perfect moment. It wasn't the magical reunion I daydreamed about. But it was a start. A real solid start. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of something that had been missing for years: hope. After that conversation with my mom, things didn't magically fall into place. I didn't expect them to, but there was something different, something shifting. Maybe it was the weight of my own growth, or maybe it was the realization that, for the first time in forever, we were actually trying to meet halfway. The next few weeks were full of small but significant changes. My mom sent me a text every couple of days. Not long ones, but simple like, "How's school going?" Or "Saw this article and thought of you. Can't wait to hear what you think." These felt like little breadcrumbs leading us back to each other. She wasn't trying to make up for everything all at once. She was just trying to be there.